Welcome to The First Turn. I'm your host, Hyena, and today, Llama and I are talking about This Week in Warhammer. If you like what you hear, give us a like, comment, subscribe, or share, or let us know if there's something you'd like to hear us talk about. Alright, let's get to it.
So, welcome to The First Turn. I'm Hyena.
I'm Llama.
Today, we're talking about some Warhammer stuff.
Skaven arrived.
Skaven are here.
The models are in hand.
Oh my god, there's so many. I want them all. There's too many. I want them all. I did not overcommit this time because...
Ooh, undercommitted.
I undercommitted this time because I'm going to get it all eventually. So, Skaven's a weird one, right? It's not a new army. Mm-hmm. So, most of the stuff is it's basically just resculpts. A lot of it is, right? You've got new weapon team models, which while there are
so many
weapon teams, I have a lot of old weapon teams. I already have clan rats. Even though I now have 80 new clan rats.
And the new ones are so nice.
They are great. But I've got storm vermin already. I've got a lot of storm vermin. I want to get some of the new ones, but I've got some already. So I didn't need to pick those up today. This is basically what I was getting at. And so I picked up some of the new stuff that is brand new. I've got the new Vermin Lord, which is amazing. Story-wise,
Model of the Year candidate already.
Very wild story, too. Because with this part of the campaign,
and it sounds like he and Screech Vermin King do not get along.
Yeah, so part of their backstory is that he's a brand new demon. So they go through how he was birthed as a new demon, which is
a new aspect of the Horned Rat.
But I think with the Great Horned Rat becoming a major player in the pantheon of Chaos Gods, maybe he's expanding his own pantheon of followers and worshippers, and this new guy is supposed to be like his mouthpiece, or at least he sees himself that way, and he definitely inspires not even nearby, all Skaven to behave in very different ways.
Yeah,
it's a very, very big control aspect over them. Well,
and there's a story in there which still makes the Battletomes useful, is that so he was wrestling with some other demon, basically for the position he's got.
Okay.
There was some other powerful demon that was trying to become a favorite in the eyes of the Horned Rat, and he leveraged Kritok Foulblade against this other demon, because Kritok had such armies at his disposal. And so then there's a neat story in there about what the blade is that Kritok's wielding. I'll let you read that story since you haven't yet. It's kind of short, like the Codex ones are.
Yeah, I don't see the story of his creation. That's all I'd read so far. I mean, I know it's in very similar style to how they're doing a lot of factions recently, as they come out with, here's some updates to the faction. Also, here's a second sub-faction leader for the army. This guy is very much that. He is a counter entity to Lord Screech Vermin King, who's
supposed to be the embodiment of all the Horned Rat's aspects.
So he leads the Council of the 13, which are 13 Vermin Lords. Well, here's this other one. I don't think another Vermin Lord was destroyed to make room for Vizek Scour. He's not part of the Council.
Nope.
But now he's a new Vermin Lord demon that is not part of the Council, but is on their level, maybe even more powerful than some of them are. It's a very interesting idea. But he's very much like not working together with Lord Screech. Somehow you've got Be'lakor and Abraxia, who shouldn't ever be in the same list, shouldn't ever be in the same army, even though they can be, because they do different things with Slaves of Darkness. Those are two different sub-factions.
Yeah, one's loyal to Arkan and one despises him.
Right. Yeah. So it's odd. You got Marathi, you've got Crathusa. Okay, they're doing this all over.
I love it.
You got the Celestin Prime sort of side of Stormcast, and you've got Ionis' side of Stormcast. Mm-hmm. It's just it's creating new ways to play without changing the lore to impact the entire army.
Yeah, they didn't have to divide it into two books or something.
Here's some new lore for the army. It doesn't replace the old stuff. It's just more to it. Yeah. The old faction's still there, but here's this new faction that's rising. I really like that. Clever way to do it.
Makes for more interesting stories too. The characters are
more ways to play too. Maybe you don't like Archeon. Maybe you want I like Archeon, but he costs too many points. Oh, okay. Well, here's Abraxia. She's like little Archeon. You like that instead?
Yeah.
Very playable. Very doable. Sylvaneth has 6 different faction leaders, basically, because they've come out with so many, but they're different aspects of the different armies, right? You've got Alariel, who is the overarching one that does a little bit of everything. She's not really a Sylvaneth, right? She's not a tree person.
Right. She's the god of what? Life?
God of life. Yeah.
Right.
But then you've got, if you want to go tree people, directly, you've got Balthanos, and he's the Hunts Marshal, basically the reincarnation of Orion, kind of. You know, he's got the horn. He marshals them to war, that kind of thing.
Because there was a wood elf every few generations that would be the master of the hunt or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a little bit like that. He's got the spear he throws and everything. So it's very much like Orion. But then you've got like the Warsong Revenant, and you've got the emissary that we're calling, like the ones with the Doc Ock one, which got like the 4 tentacles.
Oh, right.
You've got that one who's sort of a mini faction leader. You've got the Angry Spite Tree.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot remember their names. What's her name?
Dryka.
Yeah.
Right.
And you've got like normal leader, and you've got like the Spear of Dorthos. So there's lots of different aspects and ways to play Sylvaneth through these like kind of centerpiecey sort of characters. So it's kind of cool. I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good way to do it. 40K doesn't really do that much. I mean, you have entirely new factions, and here's a new supplement book for a sub-faction of, like, you know, Blood Angels or whatever. They kind of do that, but they've kind of...
Well, yeah, the intrigue within is always like, in the entirety of the Imperium, there are fractures, and so we'll represent that with a whole different army, right? Like, and same with Chaos. In AOS, they've snuck it to within each faction,
right,
and it makes these individual characters super neat.
And so they've done with a lot of armies that they've kind of ported over, I've noticed. They haven't really done it with a lot of new armies, though. Like, we haven't seen it happen with your Fire Slayers.
Yeah.
You haven't seen it happen with your Karajan Overlords. Like, the factions that are specifically designed for AOS haven't really gotten expansion.
Brand new,
yet, which hopefully we'll see some. I mean, we are enjoying a period of expansion to old armies. I'm hoping that before we do get to new stuff, we see like maybe an Ogre refresh.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see that. I know there were rumors of Nagash being a big part in the next part of the story. Because
how could he not be?
Well, because of how Skaven are his archenemy. Really, like when you think of like, well, what's the archenemy of death? You know,
it's not life.
Like, life. You know, it's these fucking rats you can't get rid of.
Going all the way back to his time as a human.
Yep. Yeah. They've killed him all over. They've been his demise so many times, and here it is again. And he's like, here's the souls and the soul wars going on. He's like, give me them souls, and they look at it. He like turns his lens and looks at like the Skaven souls, and they're just this big conglomeration of one soul. So like Skaven died, he doesn't get anything from them. They just kind of get absorbed back into the Rat King.
They're a hive.
Yeah. It's just like, and he's like, this sucks. Like they're devouring the realms, and I get nothing from them.
Nope.
You know, just this hungry, malevolent super soul.
And he probably also feels disrespected because I don't think they view him as their nemesis.
No. He's just a schlub.
He's some guy we can steal from.
For them to crump on.
Yeah.
Because they don't fear him at all.
Nope.
Like they thwart him at every pass. You know that they
all of them die within days of being born, and yet they don't go to him. Yeah. They don't end up on his plane.
It's really funny. I love it. I love the idea of it. Just there's very thematic. Just this rat army just behaves like a literal rat colony.
Mm-hmm.
You just cannot get rid of them. They're everywhere. You knock down a wall, and there's just a rat colony in there living. It's been living there forever. You know, it's just like they're in the basement of every house. They're in every city, in the catacombs. They're literally everywhere. They gnaw out from literally everywhere. Yep. I love it. It's so funny.
Yep. And their models arrived in hand, and people can say what they want about prices of models. Miniatures are expensive. I didn't feel like any of these were too bad, because even when I picked up some kits, and I don't play them, it was like that didn't feel like that bad of a hit.
Yeah, I mean sometimes it feels real bad. Right? Like the skink Starmaster for Seraphim. It's a skink sitting on like a tiny little chair.
Yep.
Was like $75. That's too much.
Makes zero sense.
It doesn't. It's insane. It was the same price basically as the Slan Starmaster, whose kit is
massive,
6 times as big. Yeah. It's like, why is this guy so expensive? It doesn't make any sense. Or some like centerpiecey kind of characters, like Vizix Scour was 160. That's a lot, but that's the price of all Greater Demons.
Greater Demons and up. Yeah.
When they redid Thanquon Bone Ripper, who is still a pretty large model, he was only $80 or $85.
Right.
Like it's not awful, you know. So I mean, 2 Doomflayers for 60 is a little much. 5 Globadiers for 60 or 65 is a great deal, because the old metal ones were double that.
And people don't think of that. They don't think of that.
So it is expensive for 5 models compared to like the Storm Vermin, who are the same price for 10. And so it's like, all right, well, you're going to have as many models for the same price, but it's like, but the design went into
it's almost like based on the packaging. They have this minimum price floor that they won't go below.
Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, you're right. It didn't
feel as bad as, I guess.
The only issue is like you have to get a lot of rats.
You have to get tons.
And so it's that price times however many
kits. If clan rats is what you need, though, on the plus side, they were the army this edition, so all those different size starter sets feature their clan rats.
Or even people who bought more than one because they wanted, whatever, more Giselles, more rat overs, whatever, have tons of extra clan rats. Like you can spread them around. Yeah, that's easy. I mean, I've already got 160 plus the new 80 I have. So I got a lot of clan rats.
240.
I got so many clan rats. The same thing with skeletons. I had a million skeletons.
You could fit all those in. If we did a team event at Adepticon next year, you could fit all 200 whatever rats, couldn't you?
Yeah, probably.
In your 1,000 points? In your 1,000 point half? What could we get?
It's 120 for 20, I think, something like that. They come in 20. They get 120 points.
And you reinforce them to 40?
You could.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. So I can bring one drop. It's one character and 120 clan rats in one army. That'd be 240, 720, plus a character. I would have maybe enough room for 20 more. I could do 140 clan rats.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
And then your teammate does the opposite. They do like one big character, one unit.
Archeon.
Yeah.
That's it.
Archeon, 5 Dark Oath Fell Riders. Like,
that's it. That's it. 1,000 points.
Yep.
That'd be really funny. Yeah. Hilarious. But yeah, so it's they're all here, which is great. I would definitely get more. I might even bust out some of my old metal ones just for the hell of it, just to compare them. When maybe I'll do I'll get some new Globadiers and I'll get some old Globadiers and I'll paint them together and compare them.
Yeah, the 5 Globadiers for their price was a little disappointing, but I was super excited that they got new models because those were ones that were old back when I played 5th edition Fantasy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I got to buy these.
5th edition? Well, we're on 4th edition now.
AOS.
How's that work?
Yeah. Yeah, and so those, it was great, but yeah, you're right. I mean, they are technically cheaper than the metal ones, and they look way better. I just think this was it's like 5 dudes that are on like 32s. You could have made that $45.
You could have made that $40.
So
like, come on, 65.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Because what if you're going to reinforce those guys?
Right. That's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough. But whatever. That's maybe the only
AOS does, we have noticed, uses way fewer total models than it did before.
Well,
and
especially
certainly less than 40K.
Like, man, trying to build, because we got an event coming up here in a couple weeks, trying to build a 2,000 point list, and it's like, God, there's not enough room.
Run out of points real fast.
Yeah, no matter what list I have, you cannot play everything you want.
Nope.
I mean, it was like that last edition. Last edition, towards the end, prices came down. You could fit a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, man, I can't fit everything. I have to theme, it feels like I do have to theme my list around going on one mechanic or another. Like my Stormcast list I'm playing in a couple weeks doesn't take advantage of any of the model recursion. I have no unit that's a viable target of bringing back a half-strength unit from Stormcast. Whoops. I can't change it, though. There's not enough points. I can't have my list be the way it is and then also add a unit that does that, except maybe if I cut my Griffhounds, but I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
The whole point is that it's minimal models. You know? Maybe I can add a unit of Liberators instead, and then now I got 5 Liberators. I can bring back 3 of them. You know? That feels awful, though. You know what I mean? I don't know. Nah. Let's leave it. Just don't take advantage of that mechanic.
We might, I guess people hearing this will be on Monday. So yesterday, when you're hearing this, we might get in some AOS games.
Yeah.
I know yourself, myself. I know one of our other locals wanted to sneak in some AOS tomorrow.
Yeah. I want to do it today. Our store had a pre-release event, though, for
New Magic set.
New Magic set, which I have not even paid attention to.
Duskmourn.
Even in the slightest. I know it's like horror.
It's the horror TV theme. Yep.
Whatever. Yeah.
One thing they did that was neat for that, it's a product that comes out in October. Go figure. It's going to be this like fat pack-ish.
They should have waited till October to release any of it.
Right? It's going to be this fat pack-ish kind of bundle that looks like an old school TV, like, and everything that's in it. And then on the arena, the backdrop they provided for Duskmourn is like fully interactive. So there's candles and you can like put out the wicks and then turn it back on. You can turn on the video game system attached to the TV.
Feels very Hearthstone.
You can poke the eyeballs and they like, it's like, oh, that's kind of neat. Seems like they could have done that forever ago.
Yeah.
But
I think in the meantime, though, getting this army painted, I think it's to the point where like you don't change it, because it's like if you want to get the army painted, I can't make any changes.
Yeah.
I got to get it done. It sounds like you've made some changes to your list.
I don't even know what I'm going to play.
And so I think I'm I can be in the contention for best painted then. Because it's gonna be.
I'm gonna have 0 painted models.
If yours isn't done, I might have a shot. Yep. But if because you've locked in a new paint scheme that you like for a couple of your different armies. I think your chaos one, you've settled on one.
On at least the warrior part of it.
Yeah, the warrior side of it. Yeah, and then for your Tyranids, you locked in something like that. And so it's a matter of just spending time getting those onto the models.
Yep. Both were thankfully very quick.
Yeah, but even then, 2 weeks of paint time left. It's it'll be tough.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll try to get those done and get those looking kind of homogenous.
Yeah.
Because I've used a lot of different colors for my different dragons that I'm playing, so they don't really match. But I'm hoping that doesn't matter for a paint scheme, because it's like the armor all matches, the riders all match, the basing all matches. Every dragon isn't the same color, so it'd be weird if I painted them all the same color.
You're featuring the D&D chromatic side of the...
Basically. yeah.
Tiamat's followers.
Did. Yeah, the evil dragons, which is really weird. Really weird thing to do for good guys. Whatever.
Good guys. Yeah.
There aren't any good guys. You don't no, not a chance. No one's blameless.
I mean, AOS doesn't feel as gray as 40K, but
I like that they don't call them good and evil, though. It's order and chaos.
Order and chaos.
Because you can have order in the hells.
That's lawful evil.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's it's more law versus chaotic than it is good versus evil, which is, I think, something that people can wrap their head around a little better. Because I don't know, good is always so monotonous. You know what I mean? You don't have a choice of how to do good, especially when you're role playing. It's like, if you're good, well,
can you really do that?
Can you really do anything? Is this going to infringe upon? You can be generally good and not make good decisions all the time. And I think that's an interesting part of when you role play. I personally think law versus chaos is actually even more of a funny sort of scale, because I would maintain that if you were neutral good, that's more of a fun character to play than if you were lawful neutral. Because I feel like you have so little control over what you're allowed to do if you're lawful neutral. Because it's like, well, what's the law say?
That's what I'm going to do then.
I have no opinion on this. I must follow the law.
Yep.
And it's like, ugh. Yawn. So when you see a paladin who's lawful good, it's like, well, you can use creative ways to use the law to bring about the most good.
Yep.
You have some creativity there where you can exploit the law for the betterment of people. But if you're neutral evil, it's like, well, or lawful neutral. Yeah, you'd be like, well, yes, this 6-year-old child broke the law. So, are you going to let them off?
Yes. Or yes, this child's 6 years old, but they broke the law.
Yeah, exactly. So what are you going to do? Well, the law says I take his hands. So, you know what I mean? That's not evil necessarily.
You don't have to agree with the law, but that's it right now. There's a process if you want to go change the law.
Yeah. Exactly, but I caught this kid. Yeah. So now, I'm taking those hands.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
That's what's happening. You stole the apple from the cart.
Yeah. So it's funny that way. So so I think good versus evil is actually a more interesting thing than law versus chaos. But because if you're chaotic, it's like you have free reign to do what you want. You don't have to. It's not the opposite of lawful. You just disregard the law and do whatever you want. You have freedom.
As long as it's for whatever follows chaotic. So if you're chaotic good, you don't care what the law says. You're doing whatever for the purpose of good.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's really weird, because because we do see them as opposites a lot of the times. It's like, no, it's really not. Yeah. It's really not. It would be funny though if that was how it was enforced. Is this if you were chaotic neutral, you literally had to do the opposite of the law, regardless of what you wanted to do. It's like, well, the law says I have to drive on the right side of the road. I'm chaotic neutral.
So I'm instead going to run backwards on the left.
Drive backwards on the left. It's like, it's not how that works. Yep. It's just you're driving on the right side. It's because it's easier. Well, this person's in your way. I'm going to cross the double yellow to go around them. That's chaotic neutral.
Yep. Wild card. Wild card.
Yeah. So that's funny. But I'm going to try to get this Vermin together and get some paint on him. I'm really excited about him. He's really cool. I might have to pick up another of the old Vermin Lord kit too, because I built mine as generic ones, not as Lord Screech.
And Screech seemed pretty good. I
kind of want to get one of those because he's pretty good too.
And they have 10 points or 20 points between them.
Yeah,
one's 430 and one's 450.
It's interesting that this one's a priest. That makes some pretty big differences in what he's able to do. He fights like a maniac compared to the other ones. They did not stat him the same as the others. He is a D6 damage weapon crit mortal. Mm-hmm. No one else, no other Verminlord has that. That's wild. That's mean. So I think he's got some. There's some room for him. He's gonna have some play.
Yeah, I like his cereal box here. Pretty great.
You know what? It's basically what they're packaging them now is the small, like
the 8.4 ounce Cheerios box. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or grape nuts or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. What else we got going on? Wrap up of the new season edition, whatever, of Kill Team, which
ate up.
Which is oh man, it's
2 weeks,
on 2 full weeks now. Yeah, that's finally over.
I mean, I guess for the players of Kill Team, you're welcome. You've got this whole thing featuring the new edition of your game.
Yeah.
For the people who really just wanted those kits, you're finally going to get them. Pre-orders are coming.
They're not cheap either. I noticed that the new what is it? Oh,
Stingwings.
I saw, which one did I see? No, the Mandrake one. The 10 Mandrakes is like $80 for the Dark Eldar.
Those aren't out yet?
I don't know. I saw them on the website.
Oh,
they're like $80 for that Kill Team. That's a lot. Maybe it's like, well, they're 2 5-man boxes for $40 each, $80.
That's probably what it is.
Like, that hurts. But I think the Striking Scorpions are gonna be like that. I don't think they were that much though. I don't know.
Well, the Aspect War is usually released in 5s,
yeah.
So it's probably going to be $80 for 10. But that could also mean when Drukhari and Eldari respectively get their codexes, those will be then repackaged as 5s.
Yeah.
But they'll be 45, I bet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not great. The hobby's getting pricey.
But
everything is. Let's be honest. Everything's
Cardboard's expensive even.
Yeah. We also had the update to the new app, which, again, mixed feelings on. The new app, I think, is fine, right? It feels a lot like the old app with some 40K inspiration tied to it.
What I still don't like, though, is they're investing in this technology. They're keeping up with it. It's user-friendly. I like the list builder. They gave us a feature that we asked for,
yes,
kind of.
Which was the vault, the battle bunker from the 40K app, which is what I was referring to. I don't know if you listened to it.
Now they call it the Realm Gate or whatever.
The Realm Gate.
Or the Relic Gate or something.
Yeah, the Realm Gate sounds right.
Something Gate.
Yeah, which is this, and the feature is once you've built your list, it's right. You're ready to go play. You hit the battle bunker, the Realm Gate, and it takes you to a list of all of the war scrolls you've got in your army, the attached all the spell lores you've chosen.
Yep.
It's got the artifacts. It's got your command traits. It's got your army's rules. It's got your universal rules that are all apply to everything in your army. All the units in your musician, what a musician is, what a ward is, all these universal rules that your army takes advantage of is now all listed on this section. So you don't have to go looking for it.
Yep.
I love that.
Yep.
That's
A+.
A+ for that. Well done. What I think they get like a D- for is the fact that they locked out all the war scrolls for every
drives
army
me nuts.
when a book comes out. That is such a problem.
Well,
right?
it was like you're making this progress towards digital, and that was one step forward.
Yeah.
They made progress in that now the core rules for each game are available for free.
Right.
Progress. And then they said, but now we're going to double down on how you get your army's rules that you have to buy this $60 book to unlock in the app that you already pay for.
Yeah. That's rough.
So you pay twice. That's a higher barrier of entry than it was.
I honestly don't understand what the fee for the Warhammer Plus is. What does it actually get you? A free model every year. You're paying $60 to buy a $42 model? You know what I mean? Like it's like access to more than 2 lists in the list builder? Not good enough. You know what I mean? Like I want to go shopping on the app and see what a unit does and look at it and see its rules and be like, I like the look of this. Let me go buy it now. I don't have to go buy the book that's sealed in plastic, by the way, so you can't even browse in the book to see what a unit does. You need to go and buy the book to see what the units do to see if you want to buy them or not.
Well, and locking the app rules behind the book is bad for another reason, and that is that we have seen that when updates come to either game system, they are willing to make changes to an army's rules entirely. Think when Tyranids got a change to how Synapse works. Well, now their codex is invalid.
Yep.
Think when a unit gets an overhaul to how it works. Now that codex is invalid. They thankfully left the points out of the Battletome. But once you do that, now the book is more worthless. If you could be
either the book needs to stay true forever, so that now we know you can show your opponent your book, and that's the accurate rules. But then it's like, well, okay, so what if I have the book and someone else has the code and they unlock the app? Now I have the book that's wrong. What's the point of that?
Yep.
Like that's a problem.
And the whole and then the app was making it so you could view what your opponent's playing without them having to hand you their book. It's like, yeah, but now if you don't buy that book, they have to hand you their phone so you can look at their app. Worse.
I don't want to handle your grubby phone.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or like, oh, what happens if my phone dies? Can't play the game anymore.
Yeah.
Because the only place my rules were was on my phone.
Well, and then they pitched us this, well, okay, but now we're releasing this companion version of the Battletomes that are these smaller.
Oh, is it a Kindle? Is it digital? It gets updates?
Nope, it's paper. It's a paperback book that comes with all the data cards.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I unlock all the rules of my app with it? No, you need the hardbound book. At least as far as we know. They haven't released it yet.
I think it said there was a unique code in the back of the tabletop one. But the tabletop one is not like slimmer. It's not lower profile. It's a smaller book, but it's not like it's trimmed down and therefore cheaper.
Nope.
It's just the codex, but smaller. With the cards, so it costs more.
So they not only double down on you have to pay for two things to unlock your army's rules. Now if you want the smaller companion version, it gives you nothing different.
Yeah.
So
it's a good idea. The execution is horrible.
No, I just we go back to like and notice how hard they tried to sell us on the features of the Battletome this time. They're like, hey, we've changed the layout. There's more galleries, more art, more this, more that, more fluff, and it's like these need to just go away.
Yeah.
Like or be optional to play my army.
War Machine had a really good app. And while that game had a lot of problems, mostly from the administrative and how it was run sort of side of it, which they were bought out, by the way, by Steamforge Games, and they are full steam ahead on releases, by the way. They've released more stuff in the limited time they've had it than P3 did when they were trying to launch the
Mark
new edition,
4.
by the way. Yeah. They brought back Crix. The whole Crix faction has been released, by the way. There's like 40 new kits for Crix.
Good. I know this
insane to me.
I know Steamforge said they're doing a soft edition release November.
It's a lot of stuff. So just neat. Crix is one of those like
good for them
factions from War Machine and Hordes.
You know what? Good for them.
That was like really iconic. You know, Legion of Everblight.
They did what I totally speculated, but guessed right, and they're re-releasing the paint range.
Yeah. Of course they were gonna. You know, people love those paints though.
Yep.
But anyway, so they had a way that you can buy your army's battle pack in the app. So it's like you don't buy a hard book, you don't buy you unlock the army in your app by paying like $12 or $15.
I would do that every time.
Just to unlock the rules, so you have them all. Like that's a way more palatable way to unlock rules for army that I don't own than having to go and do this.
Yep.
You know, like I would do that in a heartbeat.
And you know what? I would probably pay to unlock every single army that way. Yeah. If it was like $15 and I get everything.
What does that cost them? Zero. It's just design time.
Yep.
Right? You're releasing a digital product. You make free money on this.
Not only that, but you're already designing it for the app for those who would pay to unlock it anyway.
Exactly.
So you're just getting money.
In the interim, though, I would settle for just being able to see the War Scrolls for armies I don't own that have a Battletome.
Because for the first time in AOS now, we don't have that.
Right. And that's a problem.
Yep.
Because like you said, how do you see these rules? The only way is unlocking with the book. How do you ever get a new army? How do you ever browse a new army?
Right, to decide if you're interested in buying it.
Well, I want to see what they do in the game. Can't. They have a Battletome. You go buy the Battletome, then you see what they do.
I have to either buy a Battletome or go buy a $35 pack of cards and look through them one at a time.
No.
I
don't like it.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest complaint with this new version of the app and everything. It's like, while there are a lot of good things, this aspect of it is the biggest problem.
Yeah, the user friendliness part of it is good. Yeah. The locking everything behind it is awful.
And what would it matter if you could see that stuff? Right? Like
what are you out as a company?
You need the army's rules, which that's the part that you sell.
Mm-hmm.
You need the army's rules to play the army. If someone goes and just plays with vanilla data, War Scrolls, and they know the points and they know the War Scrolls, what they do, but they don't know what any of the army's rules do or the keywords, it's like that's not going to work for them. Plus, they would have had to go and buy your models anyway. Anyway, that doesn't matter. Making that information available will only get them more money.
Right.
That part of it. And I don't know if they can't see that or what, because I bought tons of models because I could see what they did. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, these guys are really good. I want to get some of those.
Yeah, I think. And I did that I was tempted to dip into so many things when all we had was index hammer of AOS because I could see all the rules for everything.
Precisely.
And it made me interested. And I was like, I might do a Flesh Eater Courts thing. I might do a Hedonites of Slanesh thing. But one by one, they're going to be locked. And I don't know if it's that they can't see that. They've had to have heard it by now.
Right.
And I don't mean from like the cadre of internet complainers who just want everything for free. But as an idea, I think if us two have talked about this for a while, there has to be other people who've thought of it in the community. Mm-hmm. And some of it could just be like they're clinging to old-time ways. They have always had codexes and battletomes or codexes and army books, and so they're just always going to have them. Like, and there are some players who would probably be like, but they're not printing. It's like,
but at least with like army books and old codexes and arcane journals and whatever that they call them, at least they were paperback and they were cheap. You can just get in to start playing with like a cheap pamphlet version of your army book. Like, that's palatable. This thing for $65, that's too much. I don't need it. Like, if you give me a choice between a $30 paperback and a $65 hardback of the same book, give me the $30 so I can start playing. Give me the $30 so I can know what the armies do.
Well, and
you know what I mean? Like,
and we've said this, but I'm sure they have to know. They would be making free money if it was just a pay to unlock on the app.
Yeah.
Because then they don't have to go through the process of
logistics,
printing, publishing, having it shipped out everywhere, these big heavy books. And it's like, you're just going to make $15 to not have to do anything but someone like upload it to a server.
Right.
Like, and you're going to get hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who pay.
And then you don't need 18 months of lead time to get it out in time for a new edition.
Right.
Then we printed it and it's out of date already and we want to make these changes. Here's a day one errata.
Because
your book is irrelevant.
When we printed it, the meta looked like this.
Right.
So,
we messed up how we wanted this to work, and now this army rule changed.
And in the German language, it didn't work, so we had to redo it with the spatials or whatever.
It's ridiculous.
Yep.
Come on, guys.
And the books are like, I mean, I bought the Skaven Battletome FOMO, but like, yes, reading the fluff and the new layout of the galleries and the fact they spend more time on like what sub-factions look like, and that's a good thing going forward, and that will still attract some people. But don't hide the rules in the app from the average player.
Right. I'll buy a Battletome if it's for my army.
Yep.
I don't want to buy a Battletome for your army, though.
And I don't want to buy a Battletome just so I have the right to play my army.
I know.
Yeah.
Yep. Annoying.
Gripe.
Yep. But that aside, as I think a lot of people are feeling that, not much else to complain about. You know what I mean? Like, it's
no, because otherwise, as far as Skaven goes as a release, they got a whopping amount of models. Their rules look cool, and I think a lot of people are excited about them.
Yeah. I did finally get my hands on to Space Marine.
The game, yeah.
I played Space Marine 2.
I finally completed the campaign.
I haven't touched it since that first day I played it, though. It's fun. I like it. I just haven't gotten back to it. I chose veteran difficulty.
It's really hard.
And it's very hard.
It is.
I kind of regret it. I got stuck on the tutorial level.
Well,
against the the third like warrior you fight, who's got the whip.
Yeah.
That guy whooped my ass. I couldn't. I tried him like 15 times. It was hard. I couldn't. And there was that. And then there's like there's a level pretty early on. I'm not spoiling anything. You're fighting Tyranids and they've got warriors. But there was 2 parts that like just obliterated me. There's a part where you're in a jungle and you fight against like 6 or 7 warriors at the same time. And there's like 3 of them that are melee and 4 of them with spine fists or something.
Guns.
Just sitting back, and they launch this little salvo of like.
It's the Death Spitter, I think. But it launches.
Yeah. So, but there's like 2 guns. They got snipers, which have the long range venom cannons or whatever it is. Those are fine. You can dodge those.
Mm-hmm.
Another time you can just roll out of the way.
Yep.
They don't track you, but guess what? The fucking Death Spitters do. They'll like target you with their little like spine, little salvo of.
Or it's a devourer, I think.
Whatever the cloud of little spikes is.
Yep.
And they'll shoot at you. I'm like, okay, I'll roll. And then you see it, and they like travel and they turn with you, and they hit you anyway. They guarantee hit you unless you dive behind something.
It's the spine fist from Halo is what it is.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Like,
or the spiker.
I died so many times from that.
Yeah.
Just like I can't die. Like, how do you get out of the way of it? You can't. So there's that, and then there was you actually fight some Venomthropes, and Venomthropes are the same way. They're little psychic blast things, like
Zoanthropes.
Zoanthropes. Yeah, the floaty boys.
You can't melee those guys. Yeah,
melee them. They've got shields that you have to bust before you hurt them, and then their little psychic blasts are like rockets.
Yeah,
they blow up in an area, and you can't dodge them. I don't know how to fight those guys. It's ridiculous. It's hard.
Start down at the lowest level. I'm serious.
I recommend
because it's like because even if you start at the whatever the beginning one is, it's like it'll start off hard, but you'll start to figure out some patterns, and they'll be less aggressive towards you. And then if you want, go through it again at a harder level, or jump into the operations then at harder levels.
Well, I think I've gotten to the point where I've unlocked the operations already, so I can start doing some side missions. Because I unlocked the tech priest guy you talk to, and he's like, change your loadout. And one of the things you can do is change Titus's loadout, which there are 0 options for. You can't actually change his loadout and his armor type and stuff because he's not your character. He's the game's character.
Yes.
But that's the same interface I think you would use if you were doing the operations and you wanted to change your character's loadout.
Yeah, you're on the flight deck and all that stuff.
So I think that's where you do that. But I've unlocked that, and then there's like a flight deck console, and I'm only 2 or 3 main operations in, and I already have access to that where I could go and do those side missions now. Because I got to the part of the story where it's like, all right, well, you Titus plus your 2 guys, you're going to go do this thing. And he's like, yeah, I need a distraction though. And the guy's like, oh, I can spare 3 men. And they'll send
that's one of the operations is you are that team.
And then that's the first operation. Is you're playing the other team. That's happening simultaneous to what Titus's mission is doing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that's kind of a clever way to do that. I really like that. And you walk up and you see the 3 guys in there, and you can tell they're very different classes than you. Yeah. One guy's wearing heavy, I don't know if it's Gravis armor. Yeah. One of the guys is wearing the lighter, Reaver armor.
Yep.
And there's a normal guy just in Mark 10. So it's Mark 11, whatever it's Mark 14.
Mark Primaris.
Mark Primaris armor.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, I see what you're doing here. I totally get this.
I have not played any of the operations yet. I have beat the campaign finally, but yeah.
I'm excited to see how the other classes work. Just because it's
so there's some...
I've got a very specific way I want to play.
Well, there's some resource economy management, I guess, because you earn these things in the missions and whatever, and you can keep replaying it, but it's like a grind to get this stuff. And so, it's not optimization, but they're like, well, be careful what you spend it on, because if you spend it on a bunch of aesthetics early, you won't get any of the better weapons, and so you'll kind of be stuck fighting with the base level chainsword versus a cool chainsword.
Right.
But a lot of people do that because they want their guy to look neat, and it's like, well, get good gear and then start grinding for the aesthetics.
I do like looking cool.
We got to do something we can't do in real life.
Maybe you'll just upgrade your character and then maybe wear a cool hat.
Yeah. Witch hunter hat on a space marine just over his helmet.
Yeah. We're fine. But I ended up stopping the night I was playing just because I ran into a wall where I just couldn't load past I was going down an elevator, and it just couldn't connect to the server, and then it spun out, and I was like,
Nope.
I guess I'm done for the night, and I really haven't gone back.
Good stopping point.
Yeah, it was a good stopping point, but it was. I do want to play more. I just haven't gotten to it.
It is fun. I enjoy the straightforwardness of the game. It harkens back to sort of a classic game design mode where it's even though there's sort of combat loops that you go through, and the story is very straightforward. That's sometimes the most addictive kind of game.
Yeah.
And it's been a long time since we've had a AAA title that does that real well.
Well, I think kudos to them pulling the game off of the release schedule they were on and releasing it way later, because it gave them way more opportunity to, I think, do a few things: is polish the game up, create some more interesting things to do in the game, and then create replayability. Because not everyone wants to play PvP. I think maybe the operations thing was not initially a feature.
Well, and I don't even know, because I remember when early access people were reviewing that, and they didn't even know that was going to be a feature. So it's possible, that was a late. But what a cool thing to do. And then they've announced that'll be future releases as new operations or a new weapon you can unlock or whatever,
or new classes. Because I noticed they did not represent every kind of Space Marine weapon in the arsenal.
Nope.
I don't think I saw lightning claws. Are there lightning claws?
I don't think so.
Shame. Lightning claws are one of the coolest, most unique kind of weapons.
We don't have it yet.
That Space Marines.
We also don't have a power axe. We have a sword. We have a chain sword. We have a power fist. We have a thunder hammer.
You get an eviscerator. Where's the eviscerator at? Where's the two-handed chain sword? Where's the power maul? Where's the Crozius?
Exactly.
Where's all this? Let me have a cleric sort of a chaplain class to be able to play. You know, like where's my Boltstorm gauntlets?
Yep.
You know, where's all this stuff? Are there flamers in the game? I actually haven't seen flamers. Melt is the closest.
There is a flamer.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Good.
You'll have a level where you have to use them.
Assault cannon.
Yeah, we don't.
Where's
know
the heavy
that.
weapons?
Where's the Terminator armor?
Where's the Terminators? Oh my God, Terminators. Where's the combi weapon? I guess you could kind of get grenade launcher, bolters. All right, fine. There's some stuff, but again, there's room for expansion.
But it also didn't feel like an incomplete game,
right?
And so that's great because they were like, we want this to be able to stand on its own, and if it's successful enough, we'll make polished additions to the game later.
Right.
And it's like perfect.
Yeah.
What?
I hope it also. We've got a few examples of good media for Space Marines. I hope that inspires more.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This new show, The Tides, is super cool.
It's been very good.
I think the Hammer Bolter team, because it's a Hammer Bolter one, right?
I don't know.
Or no,
Maybe.
Angels of Death. I forget which studio's doing it.
Well, it's in the CG style instead of the...
Right, which was called...
I don't remember what it's called.
Man, I forget who does it. All right, I could probably look it up.
But it was pretty good. It's been a pretty good show. I liked Hammer and Bolter as well.
Yeah. But so like that kind of stuff is like a proof of concept is like, yes, we can make, good media for this franchise.
Yep.
Their license has been given out a lot to really cheap skins, call it, on established technologies.
Well, especially on the mobile side.
That's
yeah.
what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like there's like a mobile there's a mobile game template that you can apply basically any skin to, and it will function exactly the same way.
Yep.
So there are a lot of games that are like that. A lot of them like the auto battlers and the grind ones where you can only play so many times per day, and you unlock new characters and you upgrade their stuff with currencies and stuff. You get them
Yep.
Yeah. Gotchas and
gotcha
all
games
that.
and Micronomics and
It's not a creative thing, and it's just stop giving your license out to those. You know what I mean? Like, it's just too much.
And I stopped playing any of them, and not just Warhammer Universe, but any in general, because it was like, it was that you always walk down the same hole where the game is super fun until you reach the spot where you have to grind.
Because for the first few days, you got a limited amount of play.
Yep.
And then it's like, oh, well, now you used up your resources. You can do 5 missions per day unless you buy more.
Yeah.
And a mission takes 10 minutes, and you're like, shit.
And you find that if you don't buy more, you have to do this really awful slow grind. And then it's like, I have to dedicate hours a day to being on my phone, just touching the screen every few seconds. Like, no, thank you.
Yep.
We've got friends who do that, where you see their phone, they're holding a conversation with you, and they're just always like side-eyeing their phone because they got a game running that they have to do, otherwise they can't keep up with their team. And it's like, ugh.
Yeah, it's a little odd. Or just any of them, like the minor, the half-committed projects that just don't really feel polished or feel great.
Realm of Ruin.
This one, Realm of Ruin, while it had potential,
a lot of potential,
it fell a little flat. I mean, hell, even the expansions where it's like, oh, well, here's this DLC for multiplayer.
Yeah,
it's like, I'm not interested in multiplayer.
I'm not interested in Age of Sigmar Fortnite edition.
I know,
like.
That might be a better game, though. Who knows? But yeah, like dedicating some actual AAA licenses, some AAA titles, some AAA studios to doing these, I think can work. I mean, it's a big enough name now that people are going to like it.
Well, and
it's going to succeed.
And look at the model. It was like, go so simple and straightforward with the story, with the gameplay mechanics, and with what you can do. And it was like, and then give time to the people who want to play single or who just want to play with their buddies.
Yeah.
Because multiplayer you don't need much for that to work. You need connectivity solutions, and then like players go find each other. So I think this was just a brilliant move. I know they've made tons of money on it already in the opening. So
Total War is another one where they've got the potential.
Yep.
Right? Whether you go 40K, you go AOS. I think Total War can absolutely.
I think they'll do both. Like, some people in the know say 40K is already in the works, and there's probably a playable version already. And then I wouldn't be surprised if they get 7 years out of that, like they did with the fantasy one. And while they're doing that, they're working on AOS or
Yeah. Love to see it.
Yep.
I would. I think it'd be great. But even like this type of game, and I mean, this is.
You could do this type of game, but do it in the AOS world.
Absolutely. We've already seen proof of concept of it with Vermintide.
Yeah.
Right? Like that was a fantasy setting one, but why isn't it just exactly the same, except a new setting? right? Like, okay, instead of having an Empire soldier, now you've got a Stormcast.
You pick a Stormcast who's in a gray area, and you give him a cool story.
Instead of having a dwarf, you've got just a normal dwarf. You got a Fire Slayer.
Yep.
You could absolutely do that. You know,
well,
hell, even go Darktide version of it, where you don't have like named characters. You've got a generic subclass, right? Because in Darktide, you could all 4 play as guardsmen. Basically, you're not a named guardsman, you're just a guardsman. You can like specialize them however you want it.
Well, yeah, for the story mode, you have a character, but don't make it one that everybody knows yet. Like Titus was made by Space Marine,
right?
And so you do that. You now make a new character that no one knows yet, that they'll eventually make a model for.
Realm of Ruin did that.
Right.
Those 3 characters you get in that are like, they're brand new people.
Yeah.
They aren't based on anything, but it works.
Give them a cool story, and with AOS the possibilities are endless, because you could have it be where death is a big bad or chaos is a big bad or whatever, and they have to deal with it, but they start off fighting an invasion of Gloomspite Gets or something, right? And then you build up a cool story, straightforward gameplay, and then you do the same thing. Co-op mode where you build different classes.
Yep.
PvP mode where you whatever. And that game could expand and go on for a decade.
Absolutely. Just solved it.
Yep. You hear that? Whoever it was that made Space Marine, do that.
I want to see more, as I said. So it gets you a taste, but it's like...
Because Immortal Realms are awesome.
Yeah. There's a lot of potential.
Yeah.
You know, like it's so different. It's so weird for people to wrap their heads around, I think. Because it's like, well, what's like, they need to get more into what real life is like. You know, or like, we need to reach a spot in the Mortal Realms where things aren't constantly changing, where we have like a set state for a while.
That's an interesting point, because when Games Workshop adopted this philosophy of, well, you know, the 40K story and the fantasy story at the time, they haven't moved forward in 25 years. We've kept them at the exact same plot point. No new things have come out. So then they're like End Times, and then they were like the Crusade, or the whatever they called it in 40K. Yeah,
there was the Maledictum,
right?
All this stuff
at the end of 7th, and it was like they finally moved the stories forward, which was cool. And then we got Age of Sigmar, but Age of Sigmar has hit the ground, and the story's changed every 5 minutes.
Right.
It's like, well, you have to kind of like give us this established universe, and then write these stories happening within. Yeah,
yeah. I feel like eventually we're going to get to a spot where it is.
There's enough fluff where they can.
We're shaping. We're helping shape it a little bit right now with some of the campaigns and the Skaven bursting forth, and so like things have changed. But I feel like we're going to get to a point where it's again that thing where it's like, you know, 5 minutes to midnight sort of doom.
Yeah, you're always going to be on the edge.
Let's operate within that sort of that time frame for a little while and tell some stories there. You know, you've got a lot of really cool characters that you could absolutely write. I mean, look
how the authors did it without the game itself being affected for Horus Heresy.
Yeah,
they told the same story
from 15, 20
different perspectives for 20 years. They told the same story, and then only with the Siege of Terra did they finally get to the end that we already all knew.
Right.
So it was like, you do have to hit a point where you just hit Edge of Midnight for a while and tell the stories within it.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And like I said, they've got so many cool characters that are, you know, from different books and stuff that they can expand upon. You know, the Gotrek, or maybe even like a sidekick. You know, the Slayer books. You've got the Callus and Toll character duo that are really cool.
They've got novels about them now, I think.
Neve Blacktalon, who's a really cool Stormcast character. Like you've got these characters throughout, you know, all these different books. That's like, well, expand upon that. Show the world through their eyes and let them, you know, be in the normal world for a while. You know, come up, give me like a Civilization game that's set in the Immortal Realms. give me like something like, give me a farm game. Where I'm literally just
Sim Farm. AOS
farm living in the realm of fire, and I got to deal with like firestorms and Auric raids. Whatever, like expand it in however you can. That's interesting, and show me more. You know, that's what I want to say.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I was actually working on some other stuff outside of Skaven, waiting for the Skaven. I got my War Crow box.
War Crow. Oh yeah, the Callus Belly. Corvus Belly. I don't know.
Together, and they're pretty.
Is that why you got to do it? Because Corvus.
Yeah.
Because Corvus.
Yeah, because birds. They're pretty slick. They're not bad looking. They're Infinity's like newish like plastic resin.
So what's weird is there have been content creators who have been painting this exact model you're holding, which no one can see, for like a year.
Yeah.
There have been people who've had access to some of their models.
War Crow has been kind of in production for 3 or 4 years now. It's been at every convention, and you just can't buy it until this year. But yeah, they're slick. I mean, I do like the models. They went together pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously some gaps and stuff, and the more pieces you introduce, and whatever, the bigger gaps you can have to worry about. Like my chieftain didn't.
An orc with Kopish.
Yeah. All the worst. Like my chieftain did not go together great. You just look at his right shoulder. There's tons of gaps between because his back, his front, and his cloak and his head were all different parts, and they all kind of match at the same spot, and they're pretty gappy.
I've seen a lot of people paint that one too.
Yeah, I mean they're slick. I like them. I don't know how quickly the game is going to expand upon it. I think I said that last week. It's like
there are no designs on.
I just don't see any more yet, and it's just odd. With that, I've got some. We're gonna be doing like a D&D campaign coming up soon, and I need to get some models prepped for that. For both player characters and for enemies, and all kinds of stuff. So I've been thinking about that a lot, and been working on putting a list together of what I need to get ready for that. In addition to the tournament, in addition to the new stuff I want to paint, it's just never ending, right? I'm thinking about setting up my paint station again and having a space set aside and dedicated to being like, this rack of things are the things I need to work on, right? Like setting it up in terms of like giving myself a workflow, because so often I go to paint, I'm like, what do I want to paint today? And I'll just like go find a random model that doesn't matter, that I don't need to work on.
Or there's that classic, and I always forget what this is called, but there's when you're going to do something and you're even excited to do it, then you see how many things you have to look at. You get overwhelmed and then start nothing. Right. You go do something else.
You kind of get overwhelmed by
there's a term for that. But that was like a trick I remember hearing from some veteran painter online where they talked about, well, if you go to like a paint session with friends or you go to a session, if you bring too many things with you, you then won't do anything.
Right.
And so it was like bring one thing to paint and one thing to assemble.
Right.
And that's it. And so I think if you set yourself up with a workflow like, nope, I'm going to work on these, right, then you will work on those.
Yeah. Something like trays or a rack or a little small set of shelves or something to have my stuff and be like, here are the models that I've primed and like, this is what I need to paint next. And just kind of like separate them off so I don't have them sit next to everything else. 'Cause I have a lot of stuff that's just primed that can be painted.
Yep.
But I haven't yet. And it's just prioritizing, and just getting some of that stuff done and actually like sitting and like writing a list and maybe even have like a checklist of like, I need to get this done. This is the thing I need to get done next, and like actually checking the things off for myself. So it's not just
seeing progress is a big deal.
Yeah, that too. So
like and having that list where you're like checking a physical box, like right, I did this thing.
Yeah.
That
makes it feel a little bit better. And like I said, there's some techniques I want to try out first, and then obviously there's always techniques. We got some new products that we're going to try out. We got our AK rack at the store.
Super cool.
I think we might mention that before.
And it's mostly like specialty and technical.
Right. Because I mean, like, how many more paint lines do you need?
And their paints are fine, but it's like, but we have the new Army Painter line, which is similar.
Yep.
We have some Vallejo 4-packs.
Yep.
We have the GW line. We have the Pro Acryl line. Mm-hmm. It's like, how many more do you really need?
What improvements are you making upon paint?
Right.
Well, again, AK paint is good.
It is.
What we were severely lacking was the stuff around painting, the basing materials, the washes, the other peripheral stuff to painting that takes your paint job and maybe can crank it up a notch.
It gives you some cool ways to modify it. Whenever you're looking at a neat effect someone achieves, and social media can be misleading because they can do all sorts of stuff to the pictures, but sometimes it's because they're using something that's just not in your normal paint carrying case. They've got.
Why doesn't mine look that bright? Why can't I achieve this?
Yeah, how did they get that transition and that detail to be so soft and not so contrasty? It was like, they used an enamel wash that ran in there, but it had a soft finish.
Right. It blended it all and like toned it all back.
Right.
It's like, that. I don't have that material. So like I could never have achieved that. Sort of
or you would have had to work really hard to do it.
Yeah.
And that's fine. There's a certain like part of the process of just using acrylic from beginning to end that I enjoy, but there's some projects where you need to get through that a little quicker.
Yeah.
And so far some of these AK war game washes I've really enjoyed.
Yeah, because again they are oil based.
They're enamel.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
And so there's an enamel medium plus the enamel wash itself, which means it doesn't interact with your acrylic paint job.
Right.
It'll sit on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
It won't activate it. It won't mix with it. So once you've got a dry model, you can actually put it where you want to and then use a medium to wipe some of it away and get rid of some of it and create streaking effects and create pin washes and create all these other interesting things that you really, again, have to spend a lot of time figuring out how to use with.
And it just does
call it dumber products.
So speedy. It does it so speedy. Right. Is a big thing with it. And then some of them have different intensities. I have the violet one, which is very soft, very subtle, and then you can get like the black one, and it's punchy. Right. You know, or and then they make it, and then they make enamel. They make enamel pigments also, right. Which they go on like liquid enamel, and then when they dry, they look like pigment powder, which is
like powdery.
Yeah,
dry,
which is super neat. And then they have Fluoroline, does the same thing.
Which again, you would add to like punch up contrast on your model that you do as like a finishing paint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, super neat products to work with. They go a long way because you need so little of it at a time. Yep. And then the thinner is universal with all their products. So
I got the first one I picked up was a pretty generic, just catch-all. Just neutral, like dark gray, because I want to create some shadow effects and do some pin washes, and I think that can really work for that.
I did it on my Harmagaunt, which people who look at my Instagram channel. So I bought the rust red one because I followed. Forgive me, I don't have his name, but there's a guy who I follow on Instagram who does some Tyranids that was a really neat scheme. I asked him how he did it, and well, he was hand painting that between all the carapace layers, and you can do that. You can grab some Mornfang brown, but then you got to pick a highlight color, and then I grabbed that rust red, AK enamel, and it just like touched it to the crevice. Boom, perfect. Yeah. It did exactly that in one pass. Like, and just there's no surface tension, so it just.
You might message him back and be like, "Hey, you know how you're doing this? I would recommend going into this product.
This will save you time, man.
On your own paint scheme that I've ripped off." Not ripped off, replicated.
Yeah,
you know, been inspired by. Like there was a thing on Instagram for a long time about a guy who was doing an army of Tyranids that were coconut crab themed.
Yeah,
and he showed how he did that with like just creating really, kind of like one hue sort of dots.
Yep,
where it was like no real shading. You were creating a gradient effect using dots.
Yep.
Of different colors, of like 3 different colors to create the transition, and it was like really cool and effective, and it creates
a lot of people did
like a cell shaded sort of you know effect, and like a lot of people started doing it, and it's inspiration. It's a little bit of stealing, you know, ripping off someone's
art. That happens a lot. Yeah.
And you see, I mean, we even see it now. We gave one of the winners of our 40K painting competition. Well, the winner of the best painted army at our 40K GT was one of these coconut crab themed Tyranid lists.
Because to his credit, I think he went like 2 and 5 in the tournament or something. Didn't do well playing wise, but his army from beginning to end was all painted in that theme, and none of them was like less effort than the other. Dot at a time.
So kudos to him for sticking with it. You know.
Yeah, and when I saw this guy's scheme that I took, it was the fact that he was using. It was just like when I discovered it on my Exalted Hero for my Slaves to Darkness. It was like I only needed like a small handful of products. Each process was like a one pass effort, and then I got a result that was effective at the end. And it's like for armies, that is it. You got to find that thing that's enjoyable to do. Because while I do enjoy the process of ultra refining something on a single model, I can't look at an army and do that. So otherwise it wouldn't get done in this lifetime. So it's like finding an enjoyable way to do something quick. And these kind of products help with that. Like they really do. They help you speed along some effective finishes.
Yeah.
And they don't clash with what you're doing because they usually have a pretty matte finish.
Right. So, which that's the key. Is it like most enamel paints you get? You think of like testers,
yeah,
little glass jars for model cars, and they all dry super metallic, glossy
or streaky,
you know, that kind of thing. Or they don't cover, right? They're meant to go over top of another color, and they, you know, that's a lot of undercolor through. And so like my first models I painted when I was 12 years old or whatever. I got 3 kinds of paint. It was like art paint. It was like acrylic paint. Shitty acrylic
like
paint
apple barrel or whatever
from like Walmart, and then it was like some Testors enamel paint, and I painted my towel with those 3 different kinds of paint, and they had all wildly different finishes. None of them looked right. Like I had like nail polish towel battle suits for a while because that's how the Testors dries, you know. And it was just it looked awful. I still have those models somewhere. I never fixed them or replaced them. I mean I got new models to, you know. I didn't chuck them. I didn't throw them away. I still have them, but I definitely have new suits that I've used instead of them.
Yeah,
you know, because they're a piece of history, but they're unsalvageable. There's no way to get that off of there. Those models are ruined. You know what I mean?
Well, and there's a place for satin and a place for matte, but like when you're getting wildly different results like that, and it's unpredictable in how they're going to behave, and you need a ton of different solvents. One thing I'm most interested to try with these, though, is because the fluoros are the same as their pigments. So acrylic fluoros, which we've all used, I haven't enjoyed them that much. Right. You can lay down some light color and then but they have terrible coverage. Right. They're thick and gel-like, and then sometimes you don't get the result at the end that you wanted, and it's like...
you do the effort of putting it on, you don't see any result.
Yeah, and then it didn't pop.
Why did I even do that? It didn't do anything.
But the AK enamel version is the same concept as their pigments, where it dries powder-like, and so how I watched someone do it in a demo is they laid down the white paint first, and then that runs into that spot like a pin wash, and then when it dries almost powder finish, so it was like... And then it actually like black light glows.
Interesting.
And so I was like, I'm interested to try that to see if that can get you more of the... Now, if you're doing OSL over a large surface, that's trickier.
Right.
But when you're trying to get it to like settle into the coils of a plasma gun,
right,
that would be perfect. So I think that's I'm excited to try that too. So, and I was glad we got that rack in, and our store owner was like, I don't even care if our group is the only one who buys these. I'm just super excited to use these. Yeah.
We haven't been. I've seen other people get some.
Yeah.
So
once you tell them how they work, there is a guy in there who comes in every now and then. He gets way too excited about it. You tell him something, he's like, "Oh yeah." He reminds me of the guy at the bar at
Butterbur.
Right. Everything I was telling him, he was like, "Oh, that sounds so cool." But I explained to him how these work when I was setting up the rack, and then he like bought a few. So it was like, yeah.
So this is kind of paint. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. The AK rack. The AK war game washes. Haven't used them.
Never used those. Not heard of them for 6 months.
Yeah. Goddamn. Mm-hmm. Most underrated like minor character in the Lord of the Rings movie.
Yep.
But it's just like such a memorable like interaction.
Well, think about it. If you're that guy, it's like you're going to be in at the time, I guess I didn't know, but you're going to be in one of the most awarded movie franchise of all time.
Yeah.
That's going to stand the test of time. You're going to have a part for 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And this guy's like, I'm going to nail it.
Just like 3 things.
Yeah.
He walks in and goes, "Hello, masters. Always happy to care to the little folk. We got rooms upstairs for little size." And then it's that Gandalf scene, and then it's him hiding under the bar when a Nazgul walks by. That's the only time
he also does he's one of them ranger folk.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about Ranger.
Around here, known as Strider. Yeah, he's got like 4 bits and the whole thing, but it's like he went ham. He just like went all in on the
mutton chops and all.
Yeah, charactering that guy up.
Great.
That's how you do it, though. It's like I'm going to be memorable if I'm going to have a tiny bit in this huge movie.
Or think of like I don't know, Harry Potter. Well, not great movies. The Groundskeeper Willie. What's that guy's name? You know, the guy with the cat.
Yeah,
it's like one of the most memorable characters in that movie. You know, I love that guy. He's great. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, Groundskeeper Willie. What a funny character.
I can't remember what his name was.
When Bart was asking where his dog went, have you seen Santa's Little Helper? And then he's just like, I ate him. I ate his tiny face. I ate the way he leaves a mess on my rug. And then Bart's like, "Oh, you hate him." Or no, he says, "I ate something. I ate the way he's always barking." And he's like, "Oh, you hate him." They talk for a while, and then when he's leaving, he's like, "I ate the mess he left on my rug." Bart stops, then Willie goes, "You heard me." They leave you with that. Well, speaking of eating a mess.
Great, yeah. I could eat a mess.
Like a shipwreck type?
Or like ribs.
That's a mess.
That's a mess. It's a big mess. Let's eat.
Thanks for joining. We hope you enjoyed. Follow us for more of our weekly episodes on YouTube Podcasts, Spotify, and Podbean. You can follow myself and Llama on Instagram. We are at Llama Paints Minis and Hyena Paints Minis. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. And as always, we'll catch you next time.